I'm Sarah Forgani with KENS 5 News Now. More school closures reported today after students showed up to school Tuesday and the campuses were not prepared for the extreme cold temperatures. Parents told KENS 5 temperatures in some classrooms were in the 40s. Today, 22 San Antonio ISD schools are closed as a result. In a letter to parents, the SAISD superintendent apologized and said the district experienced system failures, boilers that were slow, and burst pipes.
Could have told us, we don't have no heat. I could have taken her back home. Poor baby, she can't say anything.
And it's like really cold, and like the teachers can't change it or nothing. Like nobody really said or did anything in class.
You weren't getting any work done at all?
No, we were just there.
The San Antonio Independent School District said repairs are now being made. Curbside meals for students will also be available from noon to 1 p.m. For a full list of impacted schools, go to kens5.com. And despite the sub-freezing temperature, the power grid has not experienced any problems, according to ERCOT, even as the conservation alert expired. However, a weather watch is still in effect through today. An alert simply means ERCOT is predicting extreme demand. Intense moments at the courthouse. A woman confronts the teenager who shot her, telling him about her trauma, and our KENS 5 cameras were rolling right as it happened.
I was in pain and realized I had a gaping hole in my leg. The bullet had went straight through.
Teresa Howard called it terror that will haunt her forever. 17-year-old Isaac Gonzalez confessed he indiscriminately fired more than 100 rounds into the home on Bald Mountain Drive back in 2022. That shooting also killed an innocent woman. Gonzalez was handed a 40-year sentence for murder. This month also marks 5 years since the tragic shooting deaths of a mom and her 2 children in the Inaqua Springs neighborhood. Nicole Olson and her 2 daughters, ages 10 and 16, were found shot to death in their home January 2019. The medical examiner ruled Olson's death as a suicide and the girls as homicides. The Bexar County Sheriff had hoped to close the case at the end of 2020, but by early 2021, the sheriff said the case was still under investigation. There have been very few developments since then. Vehicle thefts are up in San Antonio, and social media is to blame. That is according to the police chief. Chief William McManus said motor vehicle thefts have increased by 6%. The department adding even though there was nearly a 10% decrease in violent crime from 2022 to 2023, property crime increased. The chief believes this is due in part to a social media trend that went viral during the summer.
At least in part, what's driving that was that TikTok video that came out instructing people on how to steal the Kia. I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of how much one individual or one crew, how much damage they can do to a neighborhood or to a section of the city.
The chief said they're now working on community engagement to encourage people to report crimes. Bold new claims just weeks after former Fire Chief Charles Hood was forced to retire. An investigation into Hood revealed vulgar and demeaning comments that disrespected women, pushing him to step down. Now, Joe Jones, the president of the Fire Association, tells KENS 5 many firefighters felt the city's decision was past due.
By and large, the members that I've spoken to and interacted with feel that it was well past due. They feel that Mr. Hood overstayed his welcome here in the San Antonio Fire Department by several years. The high level of service provided by San Antonio firefighters and paramedics will continue despite the internal chaotic situation that's kind of evolving.
SCFD is now searching for a new leader, and we tried reaching out to Hood but have not heard back. Cold weather causes a ceiling collapse at an apartment building. You gotta check this out here. Chopper 5 captured debris clogging up an entryway at these apartments off Napa Landing, east of I-10 in Bernie. Leon Springs Fire says apparently the fire alarm water lines froze at the complex, and when they thawed out, it caused the ceiling to collapse at one apartment, trapping 2 people and their dog inside. All were rescued and expected to be okay. Mark your calendars. The yearly tradition of free wedding ceremonies on Valentine's Day is returning. The Bexar County Clerk's Office already preparing, holding ceremonies on February 13th and 14th at the North Side Courthouse on Villa Rosa Street. If you want to get hitched on Cupid's Day, you'll need to get a marriage license 72 hours before the ceremony. And the San Antonio Zoo's Cry Me a Cockroach campaign is coming back too. It is a hit all over the world. To help raise money for the zoo, for just $10, you can give the zoo the name of your ex. Then you'll send a video of a cockroach with his or her name being fed to an animal. That's one way to get over it. All right, checking in for today's forecast.
Yes, that is. All right, today, lots of sunshine. Despite the sun, it's going to be cool. 46, that's it. Of course, when the sun goes down, it gets colder.
That's KENS 5 News Now. I'm Sarah Forgani.